So I have installed Ubuntu and Pop! OS before. You know, user-friendly distros. But Arch is well known in the community for being the grand jewel of operating systems. This means that people that actually use Arch have Neofetch open 100% of the time, hoping that somebody will see their screen. You know, it's important that people know that you spend 10 hours connecting to your printer. And as Arch won my Choose a Distro for my new desktop poll, I had to install it. But I wanted to do it differently. What I would normally do is that I would find a YouTube tutorial and follow this one step by step, having a completely smooth install experience. And after installing Arch in 20 minutes, I would think that I'm him, you know. But by doing this, I would learn nothing. I would encounter no mistakes and just do what the person before me has done. So my idea was to install Arch solely by reading the ArchWiki. It is again basically going step by step, but it does not hold your hand that much. And trust me, I did a lot of mistakes and it took me over 3 hours. Yes, 3 hours. Looking back at it, I could do the whole installation now in under 15 minutes, I would think, which probably proves my point that I've learned a lot along the way. So in this video, we'll go through the installation process, go through the mistakes I've made, and I will also give you tips on how to read the ArchWiki. It all started well. I downloaded the ISO, created a Vento USB disk, and bada bing bada boom, I'm installing Arch. I went through steps like connecting to the internet and choosing my keyboard layout. But connecting to the internet will be a common theme throughout this video because I had a lot of troubles doing it. So this is actually my first tip for installing Arch, which is it is better to always assume that things will not work by themselves and that you have to actually manually install packages for them to work. So in my example, Ethernet did work while I was installing Arch, but once I disconnected the USB drive, it stopped working. But going back to the installation, I allowed SSH and continued on my Ubuntu computer. And now, something that took me probably 1.5 hours to figure out, which is partitioning the disk. I know most of you probably think I'm artistic, but this took me so long. And this was the case because of 2 reasons. First of all, I had no idea what I was doing. And second of all, this was the first time that the thing wasn't really explained that well in the ArchWiki. So here we come to my second tip, which is always click on cited articles in the ArchWiki. Because for example, in the general installation article, there are a lot of details missing, and you can find these when you really click on the cited articles. A common problem that actually happened to me was that the information I needed was in a cited article of a cited article, which means that I had to go from the actual general installation article to a different one and then to another one. So if you don't understand a term or a package, just Google its name and then just add Arch at the end, and you will most likely find a new article. So what was my problem with partitioning? Well, there were a couple. First of all, the UEFI layout. While you are partitioning, you are supposed to create the EFI, swap, and root partitions. These work well when you set the correct size, type, and you format them correctly. After I painfully allocated the size in the 512 bytes sectors, because I had no idea you can just type plus 1G for 1 gigabyte, I tried to format them, which gave me this really weird error, saying that these partitions are actually used by the system and cannot be formatted. This is actually the first time that I actually had to leave the wiki because there was no information on it. And after finding basically nothing on the internet either, I just decided to reboot. And of course, so I actually gave up because I rebooted and everything went to So yeah, unsurprisingly, everything had to be done again because I was still on the USB disk. But miraculously, after I rebooted, the error went away and I was able to format all of the partitions. I mounted the root and boot partitions and then went on to finally install the Linux kernel onto my disk. And at this point, I would like to mention this really large text field on the ArchWiki, which my zoomer monkey brain probably decided that it was too long to read, but it is very important. The base package doesn't come with some very important packages. At this point, it is crucial that you actually install the network manager, which will then take care of the internet connection once you are actually on your installed system. I did not do this and it prolonged my installation experience by, I think, 40 minutes. Other packages are definitely also useful, but I really advise you to at least download this one, because without it, you will not be able to install anything else. And finally, we come to the last hurdle which I had to overcome during my installation, and that was installing the bootloader. There is not a lot of information on how to do it on the general installation page, or on the bootloader page. You really actually have to click on the specific bootloader to find out the information. In my case, this was Grub. And now we come to my last tip, which is read everything thoroughly and don't rush. Because during the bootloader installation, I actually got the message installation finished, and for some reason I thought that was it, so I rebooted, and of course I didn't create the configuration file, so Grub just showed me this. Okay, Grub. Which again took a lot of time, because now I know what was the problem, but back then I had no idea. So yeah, then I managed to create the configuration file and actually managed to boot into Arch. So for the first time, now we're actually on our own disk, we're not on the USB installation disk, but the problem was that the internet connection didn't work. So during the installation it worked, but because I didn't install Network Manager, there was no package that would take care of the internet connection. So after some trial and error trying to connect to the internet manually, I had to plug in the USB disk, again go into the Arch installation, mount all of the partitions, go into the root partition, and then install Network Manager. Then you have to enable it, but after this, everything went smoothly. I managed to install KDE, which is a GUI, graphical user interface, and then I also installed Neofetch, which, as all of you know, is the most important thing. So here you have it, Neofetch. I think that's like the only program that we need on our Arch system. So beautiful, so beautiful. So yeah, that was my first Arch Linux installation, and just to wrap things up, I will mention all of the tips that you should take away from this video. The first one is do not rush and do not skip any of the steps mentioned on the ArchWiki. The second one is assume nothing will work without you manually installing packages. Number 3 is actually connected to the second one, but if you're not sure what to install, just focus on the network connection, because if you don't have internet connection, nothing else will be able to get installed. And the fourth one is there is a lot of information hidden on the ArchWiki. You just have to know how to search for it. So if you are not sure what a term is and it's not cited, just write the term and then write Arch into Google, and you will most likely find a really good ArchWiki page which just wasn't cited on the page before. So that will be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.